The tragic story of a lonely man who couldn't get over the loss of the woman he loved just might have inspired one of the most important rock and roll songs ever recorded. Welcome to the Tainted Tavern.
Coming to the Tainted Tavern, come sit a while for free. We talk about our musings and devices we've been using. Coming to the Tainted Tavern, the best place to be, where the beer's a little cloudy, but the company's clear as day, as day.
Now, earlier this year, the song Heartbreak Hotel, which was Elvis Presley's first release on the RCA Victor label after they famously bought out his contract from Sun Records for the then record fee, turned 70 years old. 70. That song has now been part of the culture for 70 years. And the song still sounds incredibly fresh today. Now, the writers of Heartbreak Hotel was the guitarist Tommy Durden and Mae Boren Axton, who was a school teacher and a songwriter. And she also was associated with Colonel Tom Parker, Elvis's problematic manager. Now, they wrote the song Heartbreak Hotel, even though Presley was given a co-writing credit. Presley didn't have anything to do with the writing of the song, but they wrote the song. And it's difficult now to put yourself in the mindset of someone from 1956 when the song was released and hear it with years of someone from that era, because the song genuinely did sound like nothing that had ever been heard before. And it didn't sound nothing like the Sun records that had first brought Elvis Presley to prominence. Gone was the slapback echo that Sam Phillips popularized at Sun Records and give Elvis that distinctive sound. The song was also, well, Sam Phillips of Sun, when he first heard it, was reportedly called it a morbid mess. The first line, since my baby left me, I found a new place to dwell. It's down at the end of Lonely Street at a place called Heartbreak Hotel. And Elvis wails it out, and the emotion in his voice is evident. Fans lapped it up. I mean, initially it wasn't a massive hit. It went into the Billboard charts at number 68. And it would take 12 weeks before it climbed to number 1. And by that time, Elvis had performed it on a couple of landmark television performances, most notably the Tommy Dorsey show, to send the song hurtling to number 1, where it stayed for a massive period and would eventually went on to sell more than 1 million. And the song was actually indicted into the Grammy Hall of Fame in 1995. Now, the writers of Heartbreak Hotel always claimed it was based on a newspaper article they read in the Miami Herald about a man who was heartbroken over losing his wife. So, well, reports differ. One report says that this man was so heartbroken over the loss of his wife that he shot himself, and other reports say that he jumped out of the hotel window. Either way, he committed suicide, and his suicide note was a simple note which said, "I walked a lonely street." That's what Tommy Durden and Mae Axton claimed was the inspiration for the song Heartbreak Hotel. But Elvis researchers and fans over the years have scoured the old issues of the Miami Herald looking for the article and never been able to come up with it. And it wasn't until 2016 when the Rolling Stones started researching it themselves, and they may have discovered the real story behind the song Heartbreak Hotel. Now, why Axton and Durden?
We'll take a walk down lonely street.
Claimed that the song was influenced by a suicide rather than telling what increasingly now looks like the real inspiration for this story is a mystery. But perhaps they felt that saying it was based on a suicide of a man who just couldn't cope with the loss of his wife may give more pathos than admitting that the song was actually based on someone who could be seen as a criminal, a violent felon. Now, the story starts all the way back in November of 1953, 2 years before Heartbreak Hotel was written, when a 25-year-old man named Alvin Krolik walked into a Chicago police station and confessed to a string of armed robberies. He said that he'd split up from his wife, a lady called Agnes Simpson, who was a nightclub accordionist, and that led him into depression. He claimed he still loved her, but it was over. There was no saving their marriage. He loved her, and the depression had driven him down the road to committing a series of armed robberies, which he got away with. He wasn't captured for. He even showed detectives how he disguised himself for carrying out these armed robberies by using oil paints on his face, because he was an artist. And he also said he'd written a memoir which he hoped would encourage other people to not enter a life of crime that he had done. He said that the guilt over what he had done now was eating him up, and he needed to hand himself in. And that story was widely publicized across America in several newspapers. Krolik was seen as someone who was genuinely feeling guilt over his crimes. I mean, there was no chance of him being captured by the police, but he claimed he was losing sleep over the guilt. He just couldn't live with it anymore, and he needed to wipe the slate clean, so he handed himself in. The judge was really impressed and said at the hearing that Krolik was perhaps the only man that had been up before him who exhibited genuine sympathy, genuine guilt, rather, for his crimes. And he was handed a token jail sentence, and you'd think there the story would be over. But as I say, Krolik claimed to have written a memoir which he hoped others would read, and at that moment he said the book was with the New York publishers. It was never published. But he claimed that it would help other people who found themselves in his situation and lead them away from a life of crime. And one of the lines in this book said, "I walk a lonely street." And the story would have ended there, except in 1955, Krolik went back to crime. He bought himself a snub-nosed revolver, and he walked into a store. This was on August the 20th, 1955, which was a month or so before Durden and Axton wrote Heartbreak Hotel. He walked into a store in El Paso. The store was called the Busy Bee. The owner of the store was behind the counter at the time that Krolik walked in, was a retired cop, an ex-police officer with the rather colourful name of Delta Pinney. Now, Krolik goes into the store. First he asks for a bottle of whiskey. His revolver is hidden. When Pinney turns to get the whiskey from the shelf, Krolik pulls out his revolver, points it at him and says, "Hand me over all your green money, empty the cash register." Now, Pinney had already been robbed, or rather had been attempted to be robbed several times before this, and reports differ over the past robberies. Pinney may have killed 3 men, and some claim that he had killed 5. So when he turned, supposedly to go to the cash register, he reached down to a shelf below the register where he kept a load of loaded weapons. He turned round and he shot at point blank range. He shot Krolik 9 times.
We'll take a walk down lonely street.
When the police arrived at the store, Pinney was mopping blood up off the counter. Krolik was dead on the floor. Pinney said that he don't know why he kept shooting Krolik once he'd already gone down, but he was wriggling and he felt he was going for his gun, and he felt the only thing he could do was kill the man or risk being killed himself. It was eventually ruled as a justifiable homicide, but this story was heavily publicized in the press all over America, and especially in the South. And several newspapers reported it under the heading, "A Story of a Man Who Walked a Lonely Street." Now, no doubt Tommy Durden and Mae Axton would have seen this article, and that's actually where they got the inspiration from the song Heartbreak Hotel. But it's strange the way things work out. When Krolik and his beloved wife, Agnes Simpson, separated, it could never have crossed their mind that that event there, the destruction of their marriage, would in some way influence an event that would influence a song which would influence the entire rock and roll genre. And it must be remembered that prior to Heartbreak Hotel, Elvis's first single for RCA, Elvis was a star, but he wasn't the superstar and the globally known icon that he would come, largely thanks to Heartbreak Hotel. So that's just a quick story about the origins of the song Heartbreak Hotel. So thanks for watching. Please give this video a thumbs up, leave a comment down below, and if you haven't done so already, then please subscribe. If you're watching on your phone, then please hit that like bell. It always helps, and I really, really appreciate it. So thanks for watching, and don't forget, come back soon to the Tainted Tavern for more of the same. Bye for now.
Please come back soon.